reviews. We have so many.
So many things to talk about. You saw a lot of movies, including a new movie, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, which I didn't even know you just you went and saw. I assume you were excited about this one. You like the original Beetlejuice.
It's such an interesting film and like such an interesting point of Tim Burton's career because it was right before Batman, right? Like before our Batman's arguably what launched his career into like the sky. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is basically what it was. Because if you know anything about that movie, like it's just the way it was made and how long it took to be made and all the like it was just this huge process, an undergoing process to get it made. And there were even controversies with Michael Keaton being Batman. It was a big thing because at the time people only knew Batman as Adam West. That was the Batman that everyone had known. So before, like, and it was one of his first. But before that, he did Beetlejuice, and Beetlejuice was this really interesting film with Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara, like this baller cast, it's absolutely fantastic cast, and it was super wonky and weird, and it lived in its own little bubble. And so, like when I saw Beetlejuice 2, I went in with like very mild expectations because I'm like, I hope it's still weird, but I hope it also still has that like low budget feel because a lot of that movie is shot just like on these like little sound stages with these cameras, and even the orchestral score is like it's great, but it's relatively low budget, right? It's all this like 500 piece synthetic thing, and I mean, it's harmless. It's a harmless little sequel. It does different things than the original, which is I can really appreciate that because I think you feel like these legacy sequels, it's so hard to. Like with Alien, right? Like you're like, we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to do this. It's like, we don't have to. You can do something different, right? That's kind of the point when you wait 30 years. Tim Burton said to me, he's like, it's been 30 years. People grow up, people have kids, people change. Even like these ghosts in this world will change. So, but I mean, it was all right. It was okay. Like, I mean, I didn't hate it. There's some really cute things about like Lydia, like seeing ghosts around her work and stuff, like outside and out in the public. I thought that was cute. Like, cause like, now she's seeing these ghosts everywhere, like in day-to-day life, which is kind of fun. They got rid of Jeffrey Jones, obviously, because he had a huge thing happen to him that was terrible. So, like, they didn't want him in the movie, but they use his likeness, and they have an impersonator come in. Oh my god, it's a Wild Asif Khan.
Well, you kept saying Beetlejuice, so I thought I'd appear.
You get the quota.
You said it more than 3 times.
Yeah, I would have sent him in and sent him back in several times over.
So I'm a fan of the first movie, Greg. So I was listening to your like, is it just okay from what you're saying?
It's okay. The problem is the biggest problem with the film is that there's no grounded element. Like the first film is good because we have Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis's characters as like our viewpoint, the everyday people that we're learning with them, and that's kind of gone. So you explore like the intricacies of the underworld a little bit more, which is interesting. Like stupid things like they have a dry cleaner, they have a police department, right? Like it's like a real thing, and you kind of find out like how souls move on, which is also kind of interesting. But like it's just not as weird. I think it's because you're not discovering this world for the first time because it's been discovered. I think that's the big thing. And of course, Michael Keaton's great in it. Everyone's having a lot of fun. Catherine O'Hara is fantastic in it. She's having a ton of fun. Everyone looks like they're having fun. It's a nice, harmless sequel. But is it one of those movies that's going to remember 30 years from now as fondly as Beetlejuice? Probably not.
And I feel that way about, like, did you see the sequel to Coming to America on Amazon Prime?
No, I didn't.
To America.
Yeah. It was Coming the number 2 America. Like that first one's a classic. Like I hold that in very high regard. The second one was perfectly fine, but like the reason I bring it up is like we're getting these sequels that are like 30 years removed from their original movie. It's like we were kids, Greg, when Beetlejuice came out. Right? Like or teenagers or whatever. And like this is I don't know who this stuff is for. Because like as a young generation, is any of this going to resonate with them, Greg?
I feel there's some definitely tropes that like I think older writers tend to lean into. Like, stop me if you hear this before, but like Lydia Dietz's daughter is an activist, and you're just like, what? Like, really, we're going with the activist teen again? Like, real? Like, I don't know. Like, it feels like an old person trying to write for a youth, for a youth demographic.
Well, this is a Warner Brothers Discovery joint, right?
Yeah.
So it is. Yeah, by definition, if it's unoriginal and uninspired, Like that's just what they greenlight over there these days. But like, it just seems like such a strange IP to come back to so many years later. I like them. They got most of the cast back though. It's important. I don't know. That's like that's in the theater right now, right? Like I can't
Yeah.
watch this
Yeah, it's in
streaming.
the theater. Yeah.
Mhm.
If this was on streaming, I would watch it.
It'll
But
be on Max at some point.
I mean, I recommend
Probably
it
in
for.
like
I recommend it
45
for
days.
streaming. Yeah, don't. I'd recommend it for streaming. I don't think Tim Burton and Michael Keaton need money, so you're good. You're good.
No, they'll get money if I watch it on streaming because I pay for
Yeah.
HBO Max Plus Extreme or whatever they're calling it these days. But like
Right.
nothing about this film was like, oh man, I need to see this on the big screen. No, it's like, yeah, I'll wait.
I
And
wanted
I
to.
have that. I obviously have that attitude with a lot of films these days. So
I wanted to see what they did with it. I was very curious, and like I always like when films do practical effects because that's the thing. Like for decades, like if you watch Tim Burton movies, like he got very CGI heavy, and like it just there's not much to his CGI. Like a lot of it's empty space. It's his visions are very weird, but like this one, like it was nice to see like sets, everything small, like very small and tight. You know what I mean? Like, which is kind of cool. And like, there were a ton of practical effects in it, which is great. And I love supporting that because it shows studios that, oh, we put more practical effects in movies, people want to see it. And that doesn't mean that there's no CGI. There's CGI in this movie, but it's still like, I wanted to see what they would do. But here's the thing, Asif, that I think is that comes out of these movies like Afterlife and Frozen Empire and Beetlejuice 2, whatever, is that like, it's kind of a conduit for a younger audience to go back and look at these movies that they may have missed. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Oh, I've never seen that movie, but they made the sequel, and they'll see it in reverse order, which is really wonky. But like, it's still cool because you're like, oh, cool. This movie made you see the older movie, and like maybe makes you appreciate the older movie now. I think that's like the point, but it's also like a lame movie to make a lame reason to make a movie. Like, just release the original one in theaters for like a weekend if you really want to do something like that. You know, like.
I have these two nephews that are teenagers now, but like something I've noticed with them is when a movie is so old that it's not in 1080p or 16:9, they're like, ew, I don't want to watch. Like they see a 4:3 video and they like cringe instantly.
Yeah,
So I think
I have
there
some
is,
friends
like-
my age that are like that. They don't want to watch movies that are like in black and white or.
Oh, we
like,
used to do that when I was a kid.
look
Black
like
and
they
white
came
movies.
out
I'd be
before,
like,
like,
ew,
the
black and
90s,
white. Yeah.
And there's like a ton of amazing films that are black and white or in
yeah.
4:3 aspect ratio, or like on a VHS
Classics.
tape. To Slinky Jim's point, but yeah, like I get what you're saying, Greg. It's about reintroducing people to a franchise. I guess my question is, why did it take so long? Like, why did it take so long for a Beverly Hills Cop movie, which I still haven't watched, by the way, and it's on
Oh, really?
Netflix.
It's great, by the
Greg
way.
liked it. Yeah,
It is?
Greg liked
It's
that.
great.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it.
I'll watch it. I do have I have a review I can submit this week, but I don't want to jump on Greg's here. But like, yeah, it's I don't know, man. Some of these are missing for me. Some of these are not really I don't know. They're not doing it for me.
It's nostalgia. It's nostalgia is what it is. It's going back and
Yeah.
working with a cast you haven't worked with in a long time, you know, going back to an IP with characters you haven't touched or, you know, creatively in 30 years. It's appealing to, I think, to Tim that way, obviously. And Danny Elfman's back
Sure.
again as well, doing the score. And the score,
An
the story's
example
great.
though, like here's two examples of Warner Brothers Discovery projects that are similar to this that I absolutely hate. The Matrix one, whatever the hell they called that,
Yeah.
and Space Jam
Jam?
2.
Yep.
Yeah. Like Space Jam 2 is the single worst of these things to happen.
It's pretty terrible.
And I get bummed out because not at this movie, but like we lost Coyote versus Acme and we lost Batgirl for no reason.
Terrible.
Like they never gave us a real reason for it other than they wanted to take a tax write-off. And it's like this got through the goalposts. Like I just don't get, like, I guess it's kind of obvious. I don't think David Zaslav is good at making decisions.
No, he's
I think he's
clearly,
bad.
clearly no.
So it's like a miracle when anything good gets bast him these days. And this seems to be one of those things.
Sam asked if I watch silent films. You know, I don't. I tried to get through Mel Brooks' silent movie and I just couldn't. I just fall out of interest.
Watch
in that
The
movie.
Artist, 2011.
Try to do that, and then if they think, and then Slinky Jim says, I think if they can catch up to the level,
They can't.
they can't up the level.
They shouldn't
See,
make it.
I think it's more about like you got to do something different, and these legacy sequels or sequels in general fall into the same trope. But it's more of the same, and especially after 30 years have passed, do something different. But the problem with that is you get caught in that weird section of like, well, it was too different. It wasn't anything like the first one, and why make a sequel if it's so different? That's the problem, right? It's this super delicate balance that only like a handful of movies are able to achieve, of like just enough to like be new, but not so much that you're just a rehash. And that's a juggling act I think nobody can master, and it just becomes lightning in a bottle when you get it.
It is tough. We do have